Why does the Navy have airplanes? Isn't that what the Air Force is? Air Force generally operates aircraft from stationary bases. Navy generally operates aircraft from mobile aircraft carriers. Both are important, but the mission profiles and infrastructure concerns are different and lead to different engineering constraints. Sometimes armies have aircraft too. It turns out that they are just really useful things to have for many different types of engagements. Simple answer is Navy protects large expanse of water. Their pilots receive specialized training according to their needs. Only a small fraction fly attack aircraft. The rest fly transport, search and rescue, Coast Guard aircraft, etc. 4 of the top 10 largest military air forces in the world by number of aircraft are the U.S. Air Force, the U.S. Navy, the U.S. Army, and the U.S. Marine Corps. Places 1, 2, 4, and 7 respectively, I think. Army has ships too. The short answer is this: aviation proved to be the most lethal element on the naval battlefield. The war in the Pacific signaled the end of the dreadnought era, and the rise of the carrier era. Planes could move faster, see further, and deliver more munitions than battleships. The Air Force didn't separate from the Army until 1947 and quickly moved towards strategic bombing as a primary mission because of the Cold War. Yes, but then everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. Navy fighter jets are pretty different from the Air Force's. They have more parts for things like foldable wings and the hook that make them heavier. It is also very different to land in the dark on a small moving platform. The Air Force is more focused on things like bombers and drones, I believe. Lol, the Navy has ground forces too. This is going back all the way to WW2. Short version is, after the attack on Pearl Harbor, the US Navy was left without sizable capital ship that isn't aircraft carrier, so they were forced to use their aircraft carriers. It has a much longer strike range compared to battleships, and with a comparatively cheaper operating cost compared to battleships, and it is generally more versatile than battleships, so it is much more preferable to battleships, which at this point is nothing more than giant targets. Yamato's fate, but they are good escorts for carriers. So naval planes and Air Force planes are quite different in their construction. Mostly the Navy wants beefier planes, so they can withstand the landing that the planes are subjected to. The US Navy is the second biggest air force in the world. RC in the 40s and 50s there was some back and forth over who got to do what. Unless I'm mistaken, the Air Force did want all air-related things to be them, but it's not how it worked out. Roughly speaking, the Navy has blimps and aircraft carriers, helicopters, Air Force has planes, Army has helicopters, everyone has something. The Air Force relatively new. It used to be a part of the Army still has some planes, I believe. The Navy and Air Force responsibilities don't really overlap. Also, Air Force has way cooler planes. The Army and the Marines also have planes. The Navy has planes to provide air cover for Marines and Navy SEALs and 100 other things. For more context, 2 people talk about aircraft carriers, and while that is true, the Navy also operates land bases with land-based aircraft for operations over the sea. While I'm sure things are different now. My dad flew reconnaissance in the Mediterranean from land bases in Spain and Greece looking for submarines during the Cold War as an example of the varied tasks of naval pilots. Lots of people have given you explanations, but if you want more reading, this was outlined in what is known as the Key West Agreement. After WW2 the branches meet to decide how to split up the air. https://n.wikipedia.org Wiki Key West Agreement:/n.wikipedia.org Wiki Key West Agreement. The Air Force generally operates the big strategic bombers. The Navy mostly smaller fighter jets, plus aircraft that support the fleet, long-range radar planes, and fuel tankers. Fighters are shorter range, and it's a benefit to have a portable airport to support them. Move the airbase to where the action is. BTW, the Navy also has a smaller class of carrier, sometimes called amphib carriers. Smaller carriers that are for helos and VTOL aircraft. They are designed to support the Marines and amphibious operations. The top 2 air forces of the world are 1 US Air Force, 2 US Navy. Lol. Wait until you hear about the Marines.